This meeting is Neurodiversity at Work, and this is the 6th time that Rebecca, Jessica, and I have participated in this meeting. We started doing this back in 2020, and we've been doing it every year with different agendas each time. And so I'm really glad that you can join us for today's meeting. I just wanted to take a moment and talk to you about what we have been doing and where we are and how you can help. So just let me take a moment of your time. Rebecca, Jessica, and I have been working on this issue for longer than 6 years. Rebecca for a long time because she's done it in a lot of different roles. Jessica has been doing it for over 8 years with NeuroTalent Works, and then I have been doing it with OCASG. And each time we come to you with this presentation, we ask for one thing, and that's your help. And I have to admit that I've been somewhat disappointed with that request. And the measure of our success is by how much you support us. It's about paying it forward. It's not only about thinking about your own child and whether they're working, it's about thinking about everybody else who's here and what could you do in your job and in your everyday life. For the last 2 years, I've been involved in autism and entertainment, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. But what's different about autism and entertainment than I'm seeing in the OCSG group is how much parent support it is and how much people are working with their organizations to try and build change. And that makes all the difference. If we had had that same energy here in Orange County of where you work, introducing us to your HR director, or you thinking about taking on an intern, we would have we could have almost everybody working. But because everybody's been focused on me and not on us, we still have a long way to go. And I've said this to you every time. I think I'm saying it to you most seriously now, because as you'll hear, things are not positioned for our success this year. There are a lot of changes that are happening that are going to make it harder. And so we really need your help to push us forward. If each of you helped in any way that you can, we could have so much more success. So I'm just saying that at the beginning of this meeting. I'm going to say it at the end of this meeting. But I want you to think about how you could make a difference. So with that, I'm going to share my slides and this is going to be a fairly loose meeting. A lot of time for you to ask questions. Raise your hand if you have a question. I will call on you. This is an opportunity for a lot of exchange, and we're hoping that we can have that. So what we're going to do now is reflect on the last 6 years. I'm gonna, Jessica, do you want to go first? Would you like to?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want me to bring up my slide?
Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing. You should be able to share, and let me highlight you for everyone. I'm really happy that Jessica is here today. She is amazing. She has taken her skills as a consultant and really elevated the job creation activity with NeuroTalent Works. And I'm really thrilled to have her here to talk about some of their accomplishments and kind of lessons learned over the last few years. So go ahead, Jessica, please share.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And hi to everyone. Good to see some familiar faces here. My name is Jessica Lee. I'm co-founder and executive director of NeuroTalent Works. And our mission is to partner with companies to advance a diversity of minds in the workplace and connect employers to many of you to a neurodiverse talent pool. Judi, I appreciate you asking us to consider what our accomplishments have been We started 8 years ago to address the 80% unemployment rate of people with autism, and since then have expanded beyond that to all neurodivergent individuals with any type of non-visible cognitive difference. And this is probably not all the accomplishments, but when I think about what I'm most proud of right now, it's three things. First, that we are a trusted community partner. We've worked with over 40 business partners who have said, yes, I want to give opportunities to people with disabilities or who are neurodivergent. And that's been through being trained from us on how do you build a workplace that lowers barriers for our community. It's through staffing where they'll actually partner with us to hire. We've done consulting on workplace accommodations processes. I've had to overcome a lot with HR and legal teams because of that. Many people do not use accommodations or get them in the workplace. And then professional coaching. More and more, we have neurodivergent professionals who are getting diagnosed as adults and reaching out to us. New hires that are struggling, and we do one-on-one coaching as well. This is not job coaching funded through government services. This is professional development coaching of specialists in education therapy, organizational development, a much more advanced level of coaching. We have over 720 job candidates in our database alone, with access to thousands of more across the country. Unfortunately, we've had to pause all of our services to job candidates, and we'll talk a bit about why shortly with just things that have been happening in the country. And then talent sourcing partners. We don't do this alone. The only reason we have a talent pool is because of organizations like Judy's, like OCASG, colleges, universities, the government agencies, other nonprofits like Goodwill, Ability First, that send job candidates to us. We never wanted to be in competition. We are not in competition with any of these organizations. We're truly a bridge and a connector to employers. That's our intent. I'm also really proud of the proven hiring model that we have. In the last 2 years, the Department of Rehabilitation funded us for our first two cohorts of a insurance, job training, and hiring program. So this was specifically getting job candidates trained and placed into work experiences in the insurance industry. I'm so proud to say that 96%, all of our students but one, were placed into work experiences of at least 3 months, where they got to actually apply their skills and have something on their resume. And 19 of them, about 73% of our students, gained employment within 18 months of finishing our program. We're still in that 18th month target. I'm most proud of this because most of the government funded agencies have placements rates closer to 30%. And so the reason this model worked is because we had funding to engage with employers. We were at insurance industry conferences all over the country. And of all the insurance companies that we worked with, hundreds of contacts and meetings that we took, only 7% of them actually converted to working with us. And we had an incentive from the government, from DOR, to offer these companies to cover payroll. So we proved a model that works. Employer engagement, partnering with companies is necessary to get our community hired. Unfortunately, there's no funding to continue this program. And now the question remains, can we get private donors, companies to sponsor this program? I'm not hopeful right now, which I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I want to be really realistic. And this is why it's such an urgent time for us to be having this call and to call out some of the needs that we do have. And then outside of the insurance industry, we've also placed many people into jobs in other industries, in accounting, in healthcare companies, in tech companies, data analytics, just so many others. And we have a model that works. And so we're very proud of that. And we just need more companies who will work with us and be able to approach this work in a more strategic way. And then our thought leadership. There's a Neurodiversity Work at Work roundtable, and these are employers across the country. Microsoft leads this initiative. And we've been invited as one of the strategic partners to all of these companies. And we also published a research paper last year with the American Enterprise Institute, calling out that we believe this is America's largest untapped talent pool and most overlooked, most misunderstood. And that's opened some doors for us. But the best thing that we get is introductions to companies and going to speak at conferences where people who are involved in hiring and any type of talent retention, talent acquisition, are interested to hear about what we're doing, and we can just grow more awareness. So yeah, we're really proud of this. And I think what people are really aligning to right now is that our training is all about embracing different types of minds in the workplace, and that we all as humans can connect to that. And we all want that in our companies, in our communities, that all of our minds have particular strengths and all of our minds have particular challenges. And being able to have language to talk about that, and then to highlight, what those differences might be for neurodivergent candidates, and how we can really leverage and appreciate them. So that's what I'm most proud of right now. And Judi, if you want to highlight anything else, I know I'm forgetting a lot over
No,
here.
I think that's wonderful. And you've been such a great partner, Jessica, and I really appreciate that. When you're finished, Rebecca, do you want to go next? I know you've got a few things going on at the same time here.
No,
Yeah.
I'm all yours, Judi.
Okay.
I'm all yours. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Jessica. Let me share my screen. Rebecca had sent me a slide, and I'm just going to share that, Rebecca, unless there's anything else.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that our partnership with Zavikon has been really important to OCSG. I'll be sharing some of the things that we've done together, but Rebecca has been there for us and helping us on all our initiatives. And she brings such a wealth of experience running a company, running a tech company, dealing with employment and job finding for neurodivergent people for years. And so she brings so much to the table, and Zavikon has really contributed to this community. So go ahead, Rebecca. I think you're probably only focusing on the last couple of years, but feel free to talk about some of the other things that you've accomplished.
Sure. So, Zavikon is an employment agency and a consulting firm, and we focus on placing individuals with disabilities and those who are neurodivergent and career-oriented employment, and we do it in a supported manner. We also consult with organizations to help them build programs and to hire in a way that sets people up for success. And we do believe that all of the things that we teach our employers and coach our employers through not only helps them with the individuals we're placing, but for their entire workforces. We work really closely with NeuroTalent Works and have for years. So everything and all of Jessica's successes, I commend NeuroTalent Works, and we love working with them. We partner with a lot of organizations. I started my journey in this space in 2013 when a group of us started MindSpark, which was a company where we trained adults on the autism spectrum to do software testing. And we grew that little company, and we were acquired in 2018. And I was their CEO for about 3 years. And then during that journey, I decided I wanted to do things differently. And I started Zavikon and launched in 2021, along with my incredible business partner, Hillary Kokenda. So I did just focus on the last 2 years because, we have participated in this. We've had a lot of successes. Similar to Jessica, we have a proven methodology of placement that we know works and is successful in helping our employers retain the talent that we place. In 2024, we placed 75 people in competitive integrated employment. And that's something that we're really, really proud of because we have a very high retention rate. That was part of us successfully completing our Department of Developmental Services workforce grant. And that was also the grant that we worked with Judi on to sponsor the Autism and Entertainment Conference, which was the last thing I put down as an accomplishment because I really feel like that conference did start to open doors and started to open up the dialogue in Hollywood, specifically around the talent that we have, the creatives. In 2025 to date so far, we've placed 18 people in competitive integrated employment. Tonight, we launched our first neurodivergent film challenge, which we're super proud of. This is a film challenge that's going to go over the course of 7 business days where we have young neurodivergent film creators learning how to pitch their films to financiers and top Hollywood bigwigs, and they're going to have the opportunity to do that. We just recently won 3 DAEI grants acting as a vendor, which we feel will change the way that our workforce boards approach neurodiversity employment. We're going to be teaching 3 major workforce boards, one in Southern California, one in Northern California, and one in the Sacramento area, how to utilize our successful business model and methodology to place individuals with disabilities and those who are neurodivergent in employment. So we're super excited about that. We're just bringing in one more resource and teaching them how to do it. So that's a huge success.
Thanks, Rebecca. And I know there's a lot more than
there is
sharing here, which some of it I will be sharing. What's important to me is that I've been working in collaboration with Rebecca, with Jessica, and with a lot of other people on this same issue. I wanted to share the motivation started when I first started as president of OCSG, and I did a survey and asked what were your top concerns, and showing up at the top was employment, and that led me on the journey that I have been on since then. One of the things that OCSG prides itself is that we have been supporting interns. We have had 5 interns in the course of the last 6 years. Some of them have worked in administrative roles like Tanner and Kevin. Some of them have worked in tech roles like Eric and Varun, and actually worked on our websites. These are really important. All these internships were through the paid internship program or through the academic internship program, where the schools have you bring on an intern for most of the Cal states have this as a requirement to graduate. So it didn't cost money to have these interns, but it did cost time. Working with each person, I really pride myself in helping them learn skills about how to be a good employer or employee. I'll give just a couple examples with Varun. He started about a month ago, and he was late for a meeting, and he was all panicked, and he spent half the meeting being worried about being late for the meeting. And I didn't mind him being 5 minutes late for the meeting, but I minded him wasting a half an hour of my time being nervous about it. And so we talked about that, and we talked about how he needs to moderate his fear, and that the thing he does if he's late for a meeting is just to send a note. Another example was the importance of, many of you are software developers out there, the importance of documenting your code and letting people know, or having a discussion with a boss about priorities when you're given a long list of things to do. Those are like just little examples of the kinds of things as a manager of an intern, you have the opportunity to train them. None of these people are my kids, okay? So people that work out there, there's no reason why you can't bring on an intern. With the paid internship program, it doesn't cost you a penny, and it doesn't even show up on your payroll. It's all external to you. But these little experiences help individuals get experience. And if you're worried about your child, try paying it forward and worrying about somebody else's child for 3 months or a year or 6 months, whatever you feel is reasonable. And you'll find ways of getting work done that you couldn't have gotten done before, and you will have helped this community. One of the things that I'm very proud of that we did at OCSG is Rebecca, Hillary, and I from Zavikon, we put together the Career Club. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but we were able to get about 7 people employment opportunities as a result of Career Club. And then we've also put on over 14 employment-related webinars that are all recorded and able for you to watch. And I'll just kind of shoot through those in a sec. So this is a little bit about Career Club. We ran it twice. The first time we had 16 people. I think the second time we had maybe 4 or 5. And I thought it was a really good program. All these sessions are recorded, but they dealt with vision and figuring out what you wanted to do. A lot of times when our young people graduate from college, they've been so focused on college that they haven't even thought about their career. And I understand that it took all their energy to graduate. And so to figure out what they wanted to do or to put together their resume, that wasn't necessarily something we wanted to think about until they finished. And so Career Club gave them a way to get started. There are a lot of great programs like Career Club now available that we can point you to. There's one up with the Goodwill in Northern California that's excellent. I know Jessica knows a lot about Ranga's program, and we can talk a little bit about it. But if this is something you want, we can discuss it later. We help people with the resume. We taught them about how they are their brand and how it matters what they wear, how they are responsible, writing notes to people, showing up to meetings on time, etc. We taught them about job search tools, about working with recruiters, about different networking opportunities like job fairs, preparing for your interview. I know Jessica has done a lot of work with interviews and going through mock interviews with folks. We taught them about what is it like to work in a company, about culture, about different departments, about all the forms you fill out. And we talked a little bit about employee rights and conflict resolution, and then we had them graduate. So we went through this twice, and it was a really good program, but it was difficult for us to sustain and continue to do other things. As I mentioned, we've done 14 webinars. I piled all the different people we had speak for Neurodiversity at Work. One of the groups that Jessica mentioned was Microsoft's being the head of the Neurodiversity at Work program, and Neil Barnett came and spoke to us. We had Jose Velasco, who was pretty much the first person to really double down on hiring people on the spectrum, and he talked about how he did it. So we had a lot of people there. We had someone talk about starting a micro enterprise. We've had conversations about different work incentives, about different departments and agencies like Department of Rehab. One of the things we accomplished was we got Evo Libre, which offered a lot of different programming like executive functioning classes for DOR. They're a DOR vendor. We got them to move down to Orange County. Barbara Bissonette wrote the book that we used for our Career Club, and she came and spoke to our group. We had a session on apprenticeships. We had some focus on the entertainment and the spectrum, which we'll go into that a little bit more. We had Michael Bernick, who is an expert on government and work and autism. And we had Dr. Fung from Stanford, who has done a lot in terms of neurodiversity at the workplace. So we've had we had Tiffany do a class on LinkedIn, and we even had LinkedIn do a special course for us on creating your LinkedIn profile, where they actually worked with members of the career club. I've been active in the local partnership agreement, and part of my effort there was work that I've done on Social Security and on autism and entertainment. Just to tell you, one of the things that we did was we had this Build Back Better sessions where I ran one and found out that this issue of being fearful of losing their benefits was a big problem and was a barrier for people on the spectrum, but anyone who's receiving SSI or SSDI from working. And so, this was something that I worked very heavily on. We did a survey with over 600 responses where 2/3 indicated that it was a concern about losing benefits. And so trying to increase awareness of this issue, because people are just scared to work, because if they earn too much money, then they will lose their benefits, they may lose their medical insurance, etc. And then finally, a big focus for me since 2022 has been autism and entertainment. And I came to Zavikon and told them about this idea, the idea being that let's focus on a vertical. We were working on Career Club where we were working in a horizontal. I think that Jessica has success in working on a vertical, which in that case is insurance. And I said, you know, there was a lot of people interested in entertainment. I see some of them out in the audience today. I came to one of the OCASG meetings and Patricia Turney was there, who had moved to Huntington Beach from LA, but she was the chair of the board for Exceptional Minds, which is the premier educator in this space. And I talked to her about forming a work group to focus in on autism and entertainment. And so we formed the work group in May of 2022. And then we were fortunate to get that grant that Rebecca talked about from the Department of Developmental Services to fund a conference. And this conference, we had over 400 people. We had employers there. We had over 60 speakers. We had exhibitors. And I'm going to just show you just a little video about this, just to inspire you. So. Hold on, I can't hear it. Are you hearing it?
No.
Okay, let me try it again.
Now we are.
Yeah.
I close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me, that I call my own. Through the dark.
So we've had tremendous support from Disney. They've brought on probably, what did you say, about 4 or so interns, Rebecca?
Yes.
They can say it all sounds crazy.
We did a documentary on Danny Bowman that's gotten a lot of awards, and we're now working on one for a PBS series called World of Difference.
We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think
We have 2 educational partners in the game designers for those that are in the tech space that are interested in gaming.
A million dreams is all it's gonna take.
Department of Developmental Services, that last month we had their head of their autism branch come and speak to us.
There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away.
Those were all the people on the spectrum who helped with the conference.
Special things I compile, each one there to make
Zavikon was there in force. And Jose Gutierrez, who's on the spectrum and has made a lot of wonderful animated films, was inspirational. All these talks are recorded, and they were recorded by a neurodivergent video team led by Paul Hemstreet, who's a 23-year veteran of Warner Brothers executive VP. We had breakout sessions.
Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head, a million dreams keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see, a million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
However big, however small, let me be part of it all. Share your dreams with me.
The video team.
You may be right, you may be wrong, but say that you'll bring me along to the world you see, to the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see.
Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head.
A million dreams are keeping me
A million dreams, a million dreams. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
We had the whole Love on the Spectrum group here.
we're gonna make.
So it was an amazing day. There was an impact with the professionals as well as the talent in terms of getting connected, feeling that they weren't broken but had superpowers. Since then, we put on a webinar every month. We have a quarterly newsletter. We are doing podcasts, have articles all the time. We're entering film competitions. We started something, Creator Community, which a number of people from OCASG attended. And with Zavikon, we found 40 employment opportunities for people, as well as a number of our acting group have gotten jobs working with God's Gang, which is an animated show. So a lot of stuff happening. So it showed, and I continue to work this. So it shows you what, if you're focused, you can accomplish. So we're going to talk now about the future and what's going on today. Jessica, you were going to create a couple slides. Should I let you share your screen again?
Yeah, sounds good. And Judi, just congratulations. That video always makes me emotional. I mean, it's so wonderful what you and Rebecca and the team have created. So just huge applaud to you all and everyone on this call who've been part of that. Yeah, so what we thought was important to address is, what are the challenges and circumstances that we all find ourselves in with the current administration, and just wanting to be really real about some of the hard truths that we're facing as organizations that are advocating for employment and workplaces that welcome our community. So I'm going to speak a little bit about some of the impacts to disability employment, and mostly from the lens of diversity and inclusion, the impact to nonprofits, to our government partners like DOR and the regional centers. And then I think Rebecca's going to speak about some of the economic impacts that we're all experiencing. So I'm very visual, so I am going to share my screen. The important thing to know here is we're not lawyers, and this is not a full assessment, but this is what our team has been sitting in, acknowledging the impacts and the hard truths of this moment and what we're navigating right now. From a disability employment and inclusion standpoint, as many of you know, there's been an elimination of all diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility efforts. And you see this in the Department of Labor having a large impact there. Any federal program initiatives that were related to accessibility, to disability employment, those teams have been let go from the federal government. These termination of job roles across the agencies have an impact on what services and what's available and what funding is available. There are implications to companies too. Companies that receive federal funding, I've been asked to, I had to go through a 30-page deck we put together to help. We wanted to partner with this large energy company, and we had to reword everything, and still don't know if we're going to partner anymore because they're afraid of being sued for having any initiative that's related, even though it's disability related. So that's really disheartening to see, but that's what is the reality of what companies are facing as well. And we also see affirmative action for federal contractors. So prior to this, Section 503 of the Rehabilitation Act, it is still legally intact, but it's at risk. And a lot of companies are being conservative. So Section 503 says that if you have a contract with the government for $10,000 or more, very low barrier, you must show good faith efforts to have 7% of your employees be people with disabilities. And so this is still legally intact. However, the affirmative action at the greater level, like in education and academia and companies, has been removed. So any type of affirmative action is going to be very risky for companies, or they're considering those risks. For the civil rights of people with disabilities, there is a lawsuit against Section 504 in 17 states. Thankfully, California is not one of them. But this is civil rights related to accommodations in schools, in healthcare, at employers. It's really terrible in 17 states. And there's a active, I think it's Texas versus Becerra is the lawsuit that's happening right now. Then the Department of Education, for everything that we're hearing about what might be changing there or reformed. If you look to the right here for nonprofit organizations and federal funding, 77% of California's Department of Rehabilitation funding is from federal sources. I checked this on the web, and I also spoke to the California DOR executive team, and that is the percentage that they have told me they are impacted. So they're facing some serious concerns of what they're going to be able to do for job candidates in the years ahead. This year seems to be okay because there's been the Supreme Court pause on some of these federal funding cuts, and many organizations that have funding have it for this year, but 2026 and onward is going to be a big question mark. 32% of regional center fundings come from federal sources, mostly through Medicaid. So that seems to be a little better. So it's a lot of state funds that go that fund the regional centers. But this is really important for all of us to know the impacts of this at more of a local level. And then for nonprofits in general, like OCASG, like us, because of all these federal funding cuts, nonprofits that relied on government funding are going to now be in direct competition with each other to private philanthropy. And the big question is, will foundations, wealthy individuals, private philanthropists step up to this occasion and perhaps give in larger amounts than they typically have in the past because so many nonprofits are losing this funding? At the same time, there has been some concerns that I've been seeing of nonprofits with a 501c3 status like us, where if you're doing any type of advocacy work that you could be targeted, they're looking at your 990s, what you're doing. I'm not as concerned personally. Like I think it is a concern for some, but it's just scary not knowing what's before us. But this is why we've had to pause our services to job candidates because of funding cuts and just unfortunately the government model that doesn't allow us to use funding to work with employers. So this is where we are with the executive orders and how this impacts us. But I know Rebecca was going to talk more about it from an economic standpoint and for job hiring specifically, or job candidates specifically. And I guess I can pause and ask if there's any questions.
We'll have plenty of time. Oh, yeah, you do have a question. Yeah.
Okay, could you read it, or I'm sorry, because I'm not seeing the chat.
No, it's a person. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, let me just I actually kind of wrote it down, sorry, but essentially is what specific industries do you represent? I'm just sort of curious.
Yeah, do you mean like in the companies we work with, what industries they're in? Is that the question?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we've been working in the insurance industry a lot the past 2 years. We've also worked with healthcare companies, finance and accounting firms. We've worked with some technology companies, energy and utilities. Yeah, several industries. And Rebecca's worked a lot in entertainment, and actually
A lot
several
of
others as well,
others.
consumer
So why
products.
don't we do this? Why don't we, we're about ready to go kind of into a Q&A mode. So why don't we have Rebecca do the economic piece, and then maybe we can take some questions. I know I had some questions for you as well. So Rebecca, you want to just share your thoughts
Sure.
on the job front and the economic front that you're seeing?
Yes, I'm very purple today. All of a sudden the lighting's like, woo, purple. So I have been in the staffing industry for, I'm not going to tell you how long, but a very long time. And typically in an election year, we see a downturn in hiring. It is what it is. It's uncertainty, so companies are waiting to see what happens and what the new administration will do, et cetera, et cetera. And typically after the election, we'll see hiring start back up again and companies will open up their purse strings. Unfortunately, that's not what we're seeing now. We're actually seeing them closing them more because there is so much uncertainty and we don't know from day to day what is happening in the United States. I'm not trying to get political here. I'm just telling you how it is. So I don't want to, we are going to bring you back up and lift you back up after this Debbie Downer. You know, we both played the role here. But the facts are this: companies are laying off, companies are afraid to hire, and finding a job right now is going to be a full-time job. So are there jobs? Yes. I mean, we have placed 18 people in competitive integrated employment since the beginning of the year. I wish that number was double that amount, but it's a difficult journey. I work with one of the top universities in the country. Well, their endowment's being threatened right now. So they have a full-on hiring freeze. And a lot of the Ivy schools do. Harvard has a full hiring freeze. So, this uncertainty is real. So what I'm going to say to you, if you can find ways within your own organizations to try to open the doors, please do. And if you are looking for employment, don't expect us to be magic makers. You have to be involved too. You have to be looking out there. You have to cast that, net wide so that you can catch a fish. And it can be very, very discouraging. And I completely understand. Finding employment is already stressful. Interviewing, getting a rejection, or sending your resume out there and you never hear anything back. I get it. I've been doing this for a long time. But my advice to you is that you just got to work even harder. You've got to apply to more things. You have to be more flexible. Maybe be willing to drive a little farther. Maybe be willing to, instead of a full-time job, consider a contract job or a contract to hire. Maybe you need to take a lower level position and move yourself back up into the company. Whatever it is, be flexible. Just get your foot in the door because you can work hard and move up. But getting in that door right now is going to be more difficult than before. I hope that we see some shifts in what's happening, but quite honestly, right now, nobody in this country knows what's going to happen to our federal government, to, with the tariffs, everything that's happening is incredibly unsettling, disturbing, and kind of breaking down the house. So, that's all I have to say. And if
Thanks.
you want it
Yeah.
to change, get out there and ask for change
Yeah.
because your voice matters too. I'm going to end it there.
Thanks so much, Rebecca and Jessica. I know that no one likes to be the deliverer of negative news, but we need to be honest with what's going on so that we can then figure out the right strategy for each of us.
And I have one more thing, Judy.
Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca.
That is, please support our organizations. Please help us and please give us grace, kindness. Know that we're fighting the fight too, and that we don't make magic happen. We really try, and we are your advocates, and we are doing everything we can. We care. That's why we're still doing it, because it's not easy work. But please be kind to us.
So Rebecca, why don't you take a second or a few more minutes and describe the type of relationship that works with Zavikon in terms of helping candidates find work and having their families. So how do people work with you in an effective way?
Sure. Well, it all starts with reaching out, number one, and number two, filling out all the forms that we ask you to fill out. And then, we say in the very beginning, we cannot promise that we'll find you employment. Our promise is that we will try. We do not mind collaborating with your caregivers and the people that support you, but do not expect us to find a job overnight because that's not how it works. And we may not find you a job, but we're going to try. You're in our database, and we're going to do everything that we can. It's interesting because I have, people that I find jobs for and they're super excited about it, and the parents come along and they're like, no. And it kind of kills our work because they don't feel that their child is ready for that opportunity. Give them a chance. try it. We are a supportive organization. We're not trying to put somebody in a position where they're going to fail. We're very conscious about that. So please, you know, give them a chance to try in the jobs that we find them, because more often than not, recently we've had a lot of parents intervening and saying no, for various reasons. So, you know,
Yeah. So Jessica, I know through the years that there have been parents who have given you potential leads into employment opportunities. You want to talk about some of those that have worked out, and how the parent was involved, and how and what NeuroTalent Works did with those organizations?
Yeah, definitely. And I know Rebecca and I both have a resource guide we want to share with you all. And the one that I'm going to be sharing about is kind of those talking points of how you can introduce our work into the
Yeah,
companies
so
that
if you
you
want to
might
share
work
that
with.
now,
Oh, sure.
there's
Yeah.
there's no absolute flow to this meeting, so if
Okay.
it's a good time to do that, then go
Sure.
ahead.
Yeah. And okay. Sorry, give me a sec here. Okay. So these are not all of the companies that we've worked with, but there are several here that we have worked with. And what I should mention is, in this moment of pivot, I've been doing a lot of deep reflection and thinking about all of those 40 business partners that we've worked with. This is just a handful of some of them that we like to highlight. And over 80% of our partners who actually brought us in to do any type of work with them, training or staffing, 80% of them were parents, siblings, or like best friends, like their best friend's child is in our community. It's having an affinity to our cause and being able to help champion that internally or help connect us to the right people. So you might work in a department, or be in a role that you might think is not going to have an impact, but it does. Just connecting us to someone in the HR team, or connecting us to your chief technology officer or the technology team, or any of the operational teams where growth is happening. That really matters, because as Rebecca said, companies are hiring. Most of the teams that are hiring are for essential roles for the product or service of that company, or where innovation and growth are happening. And so, just getting us in the door to talk to people who are at the company has made such a tremendous difference for us. And several of the companies you see on this screen were because the parents brought us in to the company, whether they had a job role that was open themselves, or they just said, hey, let me introduce you to HR, or to technology, or to whoever, DEI. Even legal. Have talked to a lot. And then you don't have to be involved. Like, people are busy, or, you can be as involved as little or as much as you want to be. But just getting a foot in the door is the hardest part. And so many of these companies, it's because of parents and siblings who brought us in. I'm working on an actual Word document with all of these talking points, because we want to empower and now equip more parents, more people in the workplace. But I'm going to share with you, if you were to talk to anyone in the company, a lot of what we do, Rebecca and I, when we take these first meetings, we start to understand what are the problems that the company is facing, and we try to position what we do based on what those challenges are. So these are the most common selling points, you could say, for what this is. And we're moving a lot of our language towards embracing all minds in the workplace. That's what this is about. First of all, of course, an untapped, skilled talent pool. We have a lot of slides about some of the very unique strengths and sometimes gifts of our community, that companies can capitalize on. Having detail orientation, being able to be very specialized in a body of knowledge. The retention rate of like what happens when you have an employee that's loyal, that many people from our talent pool who get placed stay for longer. And this is an untapped pool that companies are oftentimes not looking at yet. And we also make it known that the interview process is why so many of our candidates get overlooked today, because it's based on your verbal communication skills. And so we try to build skills-based interviews, but this is a whole talent pool companies are just not looking at and helping them to understand the strengths and gifts of our talent pool. There are productivity gains to a company when you have different kinds of minds in your workplace. When you think about the definition of innovation, it's that we can come to problem solving in new ways. I can't think of a better way to do that than to bring in neurodivergent minds who can see things, see data patterns in a completely different way. We see that with departments of defense solely hiring people with autism because they see geographical data in a different way. When I talked about accounting jobs, mathematicians, people who are really good with numbers, with black and white, that's exactly who you want in accounting, that level of detail and accuracy. And again, we could go on and on about all the productivity gains and the skills, but this is a real tangible business value.
Jessica, I want to just do a little case study. So I talked about the Autism and Entertainment Group. Well, we had a filming that we did last week in Long Beach at a school, and my son Josh was part of the video crew team. And we noticed they were in an auditorium. We were filming Danny Bowman, and we were in an auditorium, and the lighting wasn't really good on Danny. And I was like all set to go run out to the car because Josh had brought some lighting equipment. And Josh says, "Look at the back of the theater. There were these big strobe lights, specifically, and nobody else had noticed it.
Yeah.
And it's that ability to see things that other people
Yes.
don't notice, but because he's really good at picking up what is in, what's going on out there, he could do that. And it's just and so we were able to leverage those and use those. But that's an example of just how someone's strength can have increased the productivity for the whole organization.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Judi. And that's exactly what we see. People who file patents. I mean, there's so many productivity gains that we've been hearing. Finding defects in the system that nobody else saw before. So many. Yeah. Again, we have so much we can give you on all of this, or bring us in and we can pitch it to whatever the business product or service is. The attracting and retaining the next generation of talent. 52% of Gen Z self-identify as neurodivergent. 52% of the upcoming workforce identifies as neurodivergent. This is an imperative for companies to be ahead of this. And this is wonderful, I think, and a real testament to a lot of the parents here, right? You had to fight in schools for your kids to get the support they needed. They're getting that support. They are identifying themselves. They are confident about that. And they're going into the workplace expecting that there are supports for them also, and that people understand that. And so this is really important for companies to be ahead of. Employee engagement and culture for companies that really care about building a workplace, that, companies tell us when they bring us in for a neurodiversity training, it has made their entire workforce better. It has made managers better because they're understanding individual dimensions of somebody's mind, and that you can manage to them specifically, and that's going to be good for all of my employees. You also have parents and siblings who say, "I'm so proud to work at a company that's engaging in this work." And really, disability inclusion and employment is it was not polarizing, not political, and people just really rally around this community, and just have such a Like a lot of people, before they have our training, if you haven't known someone in your life who is neurodivergent, you don't know what you don't know. And so when we do our trainings, employees are so appreciative because they're like, I've never known this. I see people in the grocery store, I go to coffee shops, you see behaviors you're not familiar with. And now they have a much better understanding of that, which is going to matter in the long run for how our community is viewed as people and as job candidates. To us, this is a real selling advantage to capture new customers. The insurance companies we worked with, we said, we hope you're telling your customers that you're working with us and doing this and hiring from our community. You're going to attract new customers because already many of your customers are impacted or part of the neurodiverse community. Legal compliance and risk. There is, for a lot of, from a legal perspective, actually, you will lower your risk if you train your company and your employees about how to build a workplace that will be non-discriminatory. That is still always going to be true with even civil rights in the country, and that has not been touched yet. Discrimination is still illegal. And so training your company on this is going to be really important to lower your risks of discrimination lawsuits and things like that. Last three here, supplier diversity, although many teams changing this name now to responsible sourcing and things like that, where companies choose to work with companies like Zavikon as a diverse supplier, where they want to give business to businesses that are owned by women or disability owned, and that is still a driver. Of course, community and social good. We don't want this to be, this is not charity. This is sound business strategy. But also, if you are a company that invests in your local community and wants to do social good, we're the organizations to do that with you. And then lastly, as a company, to have that industry leadership and reputation, I think Costco has really shown this in many ways amidst everything. And I was talking to someone recently, when you look at, the stock, Costco's doing great. And we think part of that is because they are taking a stance for community and for this good to continue. And it shows up how we spend our dollars too. So these are some talking points. I'm working on detailed ones that you can just have all the details, but these are the top selling points. This is one of our slides, right? You have colleagues already that are neurodivergent in the workplace. 1 in 5 people are neurodivergent. They're already in your companies. So what are you doing to support them and retain them? You have job candidates and new hires. You have parents in your company of loved ones, caretakers of loved ones. Any of us could enter in this community at any time with an acquired injury, and the impacts of aging. For any of us who is caretaking for someone who is aging, neurodiversity gives us training and understanding of what's happening in the brain. And this is good for all of us. So this is nothing to do with political things. This is all about understanding our minds, having language to talk about it, and how to embrace it. And so I have quotes that I can share too of the qualitative, what does this actually do? You open my eyes, you're setting my perspective. Your training on neurodiversity created conversations among our team. It's something that's helpful for all of us, not just neurodivergent team members. A hiring manager who said that, I should read the whole quote, but the last part, which is the positive impact of our hires on our existing team has been remarkable. The team is more engaged, supportive, positive than I've ever experienced in my 6 years with the group. The impact is so much bigger and more meaningful than we could have imagined. They've simply changed our culture for the better. And so again, you can take these quotes, please do, from a job candidate we placed who said, I'm more comfortable to express my limitations and make it easier for myself to ask for accommodations. Meaning the world to me might sound like an exaggeration, but it's pretty close to that to me. And this is what keeps us going. This is why we are still in the fight during this hard time. And so anything we can do to help equip you to bring us into your company or your friends' companies, that's what will help us the most. It's the only thing we have control of right now, that we can actually really invest time and effort into, or employers who want to continue to do good work like this.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I'd like to give this is wonderful. I'd like to give some time to Rebecca. So Rebecca is looking at it from the person looking for a job's perspective.
Yes, but
And
I'm going to piggyback up on what Jessica said by showing one
okay, I will
slide.
let you share away.
Yes. So you've heard us talk about the internship programs. And so I just thought I would explain it a little bit deeper. It'll take me just a second, and how you might be able to introduce this into your company. And then also it's really important to be aware of it for your child. So I'm just going to share one quick slide with you that talks about the different programs. So these are, hold on, let's see if I can get this to present mode. Okay, here we go. All right, so there are two main programs that we work with at Zavikon, and we help employers navigate these. So we do all the work for the employer. We take it over and we get it all put into place. So we're working with the California Regional Center System, and they have what is called the Paid Internship Program, and we call it PIP for short. And there's 21 community-based agencies across California. Not all of them behave the same or have exactly the same program when it comes to this. For example, in some centers, they will allow you to do 1 PIP per year with no cap. Some cap it off at only 2 PIPs in total. But these programs exist. What they sponsor is 1,040 hours of competitive integrated wage. And that's a really important thing to say, because the people that are being placed in these paid internships make the same amount of money as any other person doing that job would make. So I think there's a misconception that it's automatically just minimum wage. It is not. It is competitive integrated employment. This 1,040 hours, the wages are fully covered, and it can go over the course of 12 months. So during that 12 months, you can use up that 1,040 hours. If you're working full-time, it's about 6-ish months with holidays, etc. And if you're working part-time, it can go for a year, depending on how fast you use up those hours. But once that calendar year is over, that PIP is done, whether you've used the hours or not. The employer does not have to bring these individuals onto their books. They are paid by an independent company, and that company covers their workers' comp and their sick time. So all the legalities, all the insurance is all covered by that company, which some of you might be familiar with the term FMS, Financial Management Service, but it's the FMSs that are the employers of record. The work site simply signs an agreement saying, yep, we're the work site, and the responsibility of the work site is to provide training, the tools that they need to get the job done, and the support. When we place individuals in paid internships, the company also gets Zavikon as a support to help the company and the managers understand how to help that person be successful. So the program is very, very successful for us. The second program that we work with is through the Department of Rehabilitation. There's 2 programs, but the main one that we're working with is called Pathways to Success. Same type of thing, sponsored internship through an independent company that pays them. The employer's just the work site. Same thing I just said about the PIP. It's 999 hours. The thing about Pathways to Success is the only individuals that are welcome in the program are ones that show that they have skills, education, or some type of career path in advanced manufacturing, biotech, construction, transportation, sustainable green energy, healthcare, information technology. So we work very, very closely with this program. We get people into the program. So if you have someone in your life that would need to get into this program, please reach out to me. We can help navigate them in. We are a very important partner with this program. And then there's also the adult work experience. It works a little bit different. You can get up to 999 hours sometimes, but sometimes when you're just doing the adult work experience, it depends on the Department of Rehabilitation office on how many hours they will actually approve. So it gets a little different there, but we help navigate that. Again, Zavikon does all the work for the employer. So if you want to bring this to your employer and you want me to present to them about this and help them understand how they can hire from these programs, I'm here to help you. And sometimes we can do both back to back. We do the PIP and then we do DOR. So that's essentially either 1 year of full-time work or 2 years of part-time work. So just think about it. So we've become really good. What the employers have to know, they don't have to hire the person at the end. That's the goal. But if they don't, they have invested in their future. They have invested in their education and their career. So that's what we ask of the employers. Okay.
And
sorry.
in a down economy, this can be a very
Yes.
valuable thing that you can bring to your employers. There are going to be people that lose their job, unfortunately, as a result of a recession. And you can find that your department has shrunk to the point where there's basic things like maybe filling out some paperwork and forms and putting them in the computer. That's a very manual task. But all of a sudden, that resource that used to do it is no longer there. This is a way that you could be maybe seeing that as an opportunity to bring in someone who could use that work experience and pay for it through one of these programs. And it's a great way for you to help your employer continue to provide, a lot of times you lose that information and then all of a sudden you're going to be in a catch-up mode later. But it's a way for those companies to continue to deliver that service and give this group of people an opportunity for some work experience. And having worked with Rebecca, you might want to talk about Holly, who has been able to deliver on something that she would not have been able to deliver on if she hadn't had a team of folks come in through the paid internship program.
We have a nonprofit that we work with. They do a tremendous amount of data and research work, and they've been able to get a huge amount of data cleansing done through our team of individuals. And our teams have learned valuable skills in doing research and understanding how to search out this very specific data. And it has really, really helped their organization. And in turn, our interns are getting exposed to their board, which are all the top Hollywood studios. So it's been a real
a win-win for sure.
It's been a big win. Now, Zavikon, we do charge for our services to help navigate this. We don't work for free, but it's a very fair and fee that we charge, and we work with companies depending on their size. We don't want to stand in the way of somebody getting employment over money. That's one thing we don't do, but we also have to sustain our business, obviously. So we do charge fees for our time. And then in both instances, they get our support. The employers get our support, which has been proven to be incredibly valuable. So just one more thing I want to say about both of these programs. It does take about 4 and sometimes 6 weeks to get them in place, depending on which regional center it is. So we herd all the cats, but there is a bit of herding. So it does take some time, and that you have to be patient. So, all right, enough about
So
that.
let's take a moment before we start talking to the potential employees and some of the tools you've built for them. Let's let the group digest from an employer perspective and see if there's any questions out there for either Jessica or Rebecca about, hey, you're kind of interested in this, how would it work? If there's anyone out there who has that question, now would be a good time to raise your hand. not seeing anything in the chat. Okay, so we'll have time later, or Rebecca and Jessica can put their email information in there. So if you want to reach out to them after, you can. So Rebecca, I'm excited to have you share your job seeking resource guide with the group. You know, having done Career Club with you, that was just the beginning of really thinking this thing through. And you have done an amazing job in trying to pull together all sorts of resources. So go ahead and please share.
Yep, and I'm going to put the link to this in the chat, so it is there now, so you can always link in. This is a job seeking resource guide. I am going to talk really fast because we're running out of time, and you will have this access to this resource guide. I do want to make note that some of this may have changed, and it's a little bit older data or information because of the way the economy has turned around. Some of the companies I have listed may be struggling and not doing just like Jessica said, NeuroTalent Works is not working with incoming job seekers right at this time, but hopefully it'll all come back full circle. So I really just want to point out that this resource guide is extremely valuable for people who are looking for jobs. We talk about different neurodivergent job boards, the job agencies, there's NeuroTalent Works and other ones that we partner with. And then these are companies, and these are the companies that I know firsthand are actually really struggling right now to keep business. You know, all of them have been hit by the government cuts. Many of them had federal contracts. So, but still very good companies to look at. Other employment resources like the major job boards. These are, you know, different career services, companies that hire, and these workforce resources are incredible. Go here and check them out, especially ONET Online. This one's fantastic for people who are trying to figure out how much to ask for, what type of careers are available to them, where can I get my training? Go there. It's incredible. Just some job seeking tips and tricks where you can get help with your resume, build your resume online, how to organize your search. There is a Google sheet in here that is very valuable for somebody who is searching for a job. Remember, I told you have to cast a wide net. Well, when you're casting that net, you also need to stay very, very organized because there's a lot of resources out there that you can work with, recruiters, etc. And it's important to them that they know where you're applying to. And it's important for you to know where you're applying to. Here are how to research companies. All of these organizations have members that sign a charter. Disability End, these are companies that sign a charter to have, you know, disability welcoming practices within their organization. Many corporates are here. These are companies that I would want to work for. So go into these and look at their membership. You know, how to read job postings. Here's some networking practices, and I have workbooks and scripts for every single thing. This is what accommodation someone asks for. You can go to the Job Accommodation Network and it gives you ideas of things that you could ask for. Obviously a guide into ADA, know your rights, and here's a video on what's a reasonable accommodation. Here's how to prepare for your interview, interview best practices, how to write a thank you note, how to follow up, what's okay, what's not. Workbooks and scripts. Here's networking scripts, having that, you know, elevator pitch, knowing exactly what you want and what you want to ask for and what you want to do. More sample networking scripts, one that you can write yourself. This is a list of how to research companies, things that you might want to consider when looking at companies, what's important to you. Here is just a workbook of like, I want to work this many hours. I want to work this schedule. I want to work in this kind of environment. If you write it down and you know what you're willing to do and what you want, it'll help you when you're speaking to a future employer. What kind of benefits are important to you? Identifying your strengths and skills. You know, what are your hard skills? What are your soft skills? Be familiar. And if you don't know, get with a parent, get with a caregiver, get with a Zavikon, get with a NeuroTalent Works. We can help you work through that. Just more identifying your strengths and skills and how to go about doing that. interview sample questions, and it goes on and on. You can write sample thank you notes, have your own thank you note, but these are all best practices for looking for a job. So I encourage you to take the link that I gave you in the chat and, you know, take advantage of that workbook. It really is very helpful. And I'll put my email in the chat as well.
Okay, we just have about 5 or 6 minutes. Any questions out there for Jessica and Rebecca or me that you would like to ask?
Got to be at least one.
Yeah.
Which link? The workbook?
I already did. I'll provide it again for you. Yeah, Rebecca provided it, so I'll provide it again.
I think we have Nicholas raising his hand.
Nicholas. Yeah, go ahead, Nicholas.
Yes, hello. So, I completed my master's in computer science last May. I finished a internship over the summer, and I have spent every month since then doing a job search. I've had 3 callbacks, period, in all of that time.
Mhm.
And my degree's in computer science. I don't know whether that makes much difference, but I've not been shy about casting a wide net, applying to large companies, defense companies, consumer software companies, etc. I get the feeling most of this resource is intended for people with less qualifications than I have.
No.
But I don't.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, we work with a lot of people like yourself. Please reach out to us at Zavikon. You can reach out to info@zavikon.net. We have clients that hire technologists all the time in internships, etc. I work with a lot of technology, and so just reach out to us and we'll get you it. We are free to job seekers. So if you want to get into our database and be considered for open jobs, you know, we just ask that you fill out our forms and you meet with us over Zoom, so that we can understand, you know, your career path and what you want to do. But Nicholas, please reach out. We'll try to do whatever we can to help you.
As somebody else said, software companies are just bad with hiring processes in general. That might be so, but I've been told that the whole point is you have to find somebody, you have to network, i.e. socialize with somebody who already works at the place to allow you to bypass the HR wall, is, as far as I can tell.
That can be true. You know, it's a numbers game working through HR. They put up a job opening and you know, on monster.com or whatever, and LinkedIn, and thousands of resumes, and then they have bots looking for people. But when you come in through a person, then all of a sudden you have someone vouching for you, so you can get through. But that's in a sense what Zavikon is doing. Zavikon or NeuroTalent Works are establishing the relationships with the company and able to, you know, help bring you in. So it's really difficult, and you know, it helps. My background's tech too, and it's not that I just graduated in computer science. It's that I graduated in computer science and I know these languages and I've done this work before. They're looking for people who already know how to do what they're going to hire someone to do. That it gets very, very specific. So that's why your internship's good, because then you can demonstrate your capability, and getting in there and producing is a way of showing that, hey, I can do this job, and so there's not as much risk in hiring. Rebecca or Jessica, you want to add to that?
We might be able to get you into a program that would offer, and I'm not sure if you or with the regional center or the DOR, but we can work with you to help you navigate one of those programs that can give you some advantages. So Nicholas, please do reach out. I'd like to speak with you.
Okay,
Yeah, just follow up with the email and let's see if there's somebody else who has a question. Drew, your hand was up again. Did you want to ask something else?
Yeah, this one is for Rebecca. I've actually had some correspondence in the past with Zavikon, and I do appreciate the company's mission, and I respect everything that you've done. And you mentioned a lot of job placements. I'm just curious if any of them were within the entertainment industry, which is which is kind of where I would like to sort of have a career in, specifically movies/TV.
Yes, we have placed people in internships with the Walt Disney Company and some other small production houses as well. So, and one of the big initiatives that we have with AIE is opening up more doors for these opportunities. The one thing I'll say, Drew, that is sometimes challenging is that if it's like a union job or a gig type job, those can be a little bit more challenging for us to open the doors for. If it's, a contract or, through that you have to be in the union. But reach out again, because if you have reached out to us and you haven't heard from us in a couple of weeks, there is no harm or foul in following up and saying, hey, how's it going? Do you have time to chat? Or I just wanted to touch base and let you know I'm still looking, or I just recently updated my resume. Here's my update or my portfolio. And like I said earlier, we started our indie film challenge. It started, but we're going to do a second one. So maybe you would want to fall in line for something for the challenge.
And Drew, I know that you've come to activities, but you haven't joined Autism in Entertainment. And it's only $10 a month or $100 for a year, but it opens up possibilities that you don't get just by saying, hey, I go to Autism in Entertainment. Because, for example, last week, we had a tour of DreamWorks Animation. There were 3 people from Autism in Entertainment who were paying members who indicated they were interested. We did a drawing. Those 3 were chosen. They actually got to spend 2 hours at DreamWorks Animation. They met some people. One of them was actually interested in voiceover and might get an opportunity to do the scratch recordings for some animated shows that he wouldn't have known about had he not gone there. If you're an Autism in Entertainment member, then when we have one of our webinars, like we have a webinar coming up on May the 10th with Kyle Boyd. Kyle Boyd is a manager at Disney's animation, kids animation, and he's going to do a webinar on portfolios. And for one of the people who's a member who applies for a drawing, they're going to get a 15-minute private meeting with Kyle Boyd. So although you may be attending events, you got to do everything you can. So I recommend becoming a member. The reason we're doing that is we need money to fund, just like, and maybe we'll take a minute and talk about funding for Jessica and Rebecca. But I work for nothing, and I put in 1,000 hours a year for nothing. And believe me, my husband isn't very happy. Not that I need to make money, but the amount of time I'm spending. That said, and I know your mom spends a lot of time too, Drew. So Deborah's busy as well. But there are people that work for Autism in Entertainment that I need to pay. And so we need the funding. Deborah's laughing. And we need the funding in order to support that. Similarly, that's true for Jessica. So Jessica, tell us how organizations or people can support NeuroTalent Works going forward. I mean, you had some money for grants. How do you fund your operations?
Yeah, thank you. Well, we are a nonprofit organization, so direct donations to us, we really appreciate and go directly towards the mission that, you heard us talk all about today. And so your own private donations to us, or if you have friends who are philanthropic and who have a heart to give, we always appreciate those donations. Introductions to employers who want to build workplaces that are more trained, that are just better workplaces. Any introduction to a company who might want to receive training from us, that's really our foot in the door right now. It's just, how do we help your current workforce? How do we help you understand all the minds on your team now? And then that opens the door to then consider our talent pool. And then third would be introductions to foundations. Private philanthropy is actually very hard to get a foot into. You have to know people to be invited to apply to grants by these large foundations that you hear all about. It's because of people you know. So I'm going to hope that the 22 or the 30 people that were here today are part of our new network. And just that
Yeah,
helps
and
us get
what
in.
I ask, and then I'd like Rebecca to go. If each one of you just had one conversation the rest of this week with a coworker, with a friend, with someone about what you got out of today's webinar, and just spend a little time brainstorming what you might be able to do to help. If each one of you did that, and actually you'd be surprised at what you come up, you could help continue to make a difference. So Rebecca, again, I'd like to reach out to you and see what folks can do to support Zavikon in your mission.
So if you know someone who's looking for employment, please send them our way. We also work with individuals who are regional center clients, our self-determination through the regional center to do job readiness. And it's one-on-one focused work focused on the individual and how, what you need to find that job and to stay in that job. And we also need employers. We need employers who are willing to open their doors for us to place people. And Jessica and I work closely together. So if we have employers that need training, we bring it over to NeuroTalent Works. And right now, while they're not accepting new candidates, we're helping with their candidates that are looking and getting those people placed in these companies. So we are partners here trying to do everything we can to keep everything going in the right direction. Zavikon is not a nonprofit. We do not accept donations. We are a for-profit entity, but utilizing our services from an employer perspective or a job seeker perspective is how you can help us out. And Judi, I know we're up on time. I don't know if we have more questions, but before we go, I do want to say a few closing words, if you don't mind.
Please do. Please
Okay.
do.
So Judi is a force of nature. And she's a very dear friend of mine, and she works extremely hard to pull all of this together. I watch all the work that she does every day to advocate for this community and to help the community. And I just want to give a special shout out to you, Judi, because you are working so incredibly hard to keep everything going and to build. And so anything that this group can do to help give, whether it's joining Autism and Entertainment or donating to OCASG or volunteering your time. I mean, AIE is all based off of volunteers that came together to make that conference happen, along with funding from DDS. All these things matter to help Judi. Judi is only one human being, and she's got a big support network, but at the same time, she is keeping all these ships going in the right direction, and it is not easy work. And she's retired, by the way. So, hello, she's trying
This is what retirement
wants
looks
to have
like.
some time off, and she doesn't. She works relentlessly day in and day out, all day. So thank you, Judi, for everything that you do and for making us feel special and lifting us up and giving us this platform. And I hope everybody can show their appreciation to Judi in some way.
Thanks so much, Rebecca.
Welcome.
And thanks for the hearts. I hope hope next year when we come back together again, I don't have to give the tough love speech again. I would really like it if I could be just bubbling over with stories of people out there who had the conversation, found the opportunity, got excited and told Rebecca and Jessica about it, and that turned into something, and that those people who are looking for work had just found something, and that we could create a lot of successes for everybody and feel a sense of being a community and that is working together versus a bunch of individuals feeling depressed alone. So I'm hoping that next year when we all get together, we'll just all be feeling really good about what we accomplished. And with that, I want to thank Jessica and Rebecca for your tireless efforts, for being there for me. And I want to thank all of you for attending. I hope you I know it was a little bit of a different meeting, but I hope you found some pearls of wisdom or felt motivated to follow up with either NeuroTalent Works or Zavikon on finding employment or helping find employment for others. So thank you, everybody.
Judy, one more thing. Somebody wanted to know how they can join Autism and Entertainment. Do you want to put it in the chat?
Let me just quickly show you. I'm going to just share the my screen, and let's go to the website. So for those who haven't visited the Autism and Entertainment website, I am so proud of it. It's an amazing thing. And what's cool is all the activities and events are down here. So you can see a whole calendar of things that are going on. But if you want to become a member, right up in the right corner is a little button, say become a member. And there's 3 types of membership. There's individual membership, either per month or annually. Then there's educational partners. We have 20 educational partners now. That if you have a child who's very interested in entertainment, these are companies that are focused on providing training. And then finally, we just launched our business partner. These are for companies, no matter how small or how big, it's the same price of $3.95 a year, which isn't much. It's low enough that you as an employee can say, hey, I want to sign Warner Brothers and I'll pay the $3.95 and get reimbursed. And now all of a sudden we can put Warner Brothers on our website and maybe go to them to sponsor, help sponsor the next conference. So those are the membership, but just go to autismandentertainment.org and you'll be able to find it really quick. Is there any other questions, Rebecca, that I'm missing?
I don't think so. Just that one. And I see some people are going to join, and a lot of thank yous.
We're almost to break even.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful week, and happy Easter and happy Passover, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you all so much.
Bye.
And the video will be out later this week. Thanks.